Coming up next on Get Caught in a Net.
Get caught in a net with a net. For your mind, body, and soul gets caught in a net with a net. It's your intellectual radio show, here to inspire you and encourage you to be your very best. Get caught in a net with a net.
You are now tuned in to Mind, Body, and Soul with Annette, where your hosts, Annette Harris, analyze intriguing life questions and concerns, such as, do Christians suffer from mental illness? Have you wondered why they act abnormal? Or you may ask, what is really going on in their minds? Do you need Annette? Well, keep listening for a biblical understanding of the psychology of the mind.
Hey guys, great afternoon, and welcome to another wonderful segment of Mind, Body, and Soul with Annette. I'm your host, Annette Harris. I am also the CEO of Get Caught in a Net Incorporated, your certified positive mental health ambassador and award-winning author of that bestseller, Surviving a Silenced Heartbeat. Listen, I always tell you, when you see my face around 12 noon Central Standard Time on a Wednesday, it's time for you to come on in and get caught in a net. I am so excited, guys, because we are going to feature another wonderful series. But before I get started, Lord, we thank you for all things. We thank you for who you are, how you've blessed us, how you've encouraged us, helped us, and given us strength. We pray that you would get the glory out of this segment and everything we go to say and do. In Jesus' name we pray. And the opening part of Hosea 4:6. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, because thou hast rejected knowledge. I will also reject thee. And again, we're excited to be here, grateful and honored to be able to celebrate Women's History Month. And it is something that we do not take for granted. We're blessed, of course, to celebrate Black History Month in February, and then we slide right into March, recognizing women who have made wonderful contributions throughout history. And so with that in mind, of course, what we want to do is to focus on what's her story. That's the title of our series, What's Her Story? And you won't be disappointed, because we have great guests throughout the entire month of March that are going to come on. And I'm sure maybe they are individuals that you know. They're definitely individuals that you should know. So we want you to come on in and join in on the conversation. Now, before we get going, I want to let you know you can watch us live on my Facebook page, Annette Get Caught in the Net. Also on Instagram at Get Caught in the Net. We are live also on my YouTube channel, Get Caught in the Net. And at the end of this segment on today, we're going to have this uploaded to Intellectual Radio's YouTube channel, which is where Mind, Body, and Soul is housed. So there'll be a variety of ways that you can listen to us live and or listen to the replay. I am grateful for this wonderful young lady that I'm going to introduce to you. We actually met in November of last year, and we did have her scheduled for last month, but we know life happens, and so we have to adjust and readjust. So we finally have her on today, and she's a beautiful individual. I believe she and I connected very well when we initially met. We sat and we talked like we had been knowing each other for a long time, and she has great history, which will place her perfectly in today's segment to see what's her story. Let me read a little bit about her before I bring her on. Katherine Jackson walked away from a 20-year human resources career and opened Deja Vu Art. Deja Vu, like that, you get it? Deja vu, Deja Vu Art, a paint and sip studio. She had no artistic skills whatsoever. Come on now. When she founded Deja Hue Art, now she can draw and paint and show others how to do the same. Her motto at Deja Hue: if we can paint it, so can you. She's an entrepreneur, a speaker, author, artist, and coach. She empowers women in business and leadership roles to overcome trauma caused by workplace biases, to include racism, sexism, and microaggressions. I'm sure some of you know a little bit about that. Through her distinctive interactive shift and paint workshops, you will uncover your gifts and upgrade your quality of life using familiar HR practices and proven therapeutic art exercises to provide hope and healing for a more abundant life. Now, it's amazing to me how the Lord blesses individuals and brings them from one area into another area and have those areas come together. And this is exactly what has happened in Catherine's life. Her mission is to help people live a life of purpose, on purpose. Her book, Just Because You Know It, Doesn't Make It Right. How to Paint a Prettier Picture for Your Life and Business is a transformational workbook that walks you through the process the artist uses to create a masterpiece. All right, so she has more here, but I want to bring her on. I want you to see this beautiful woman, and I want you to be able to interact with her. If you have questions or comments on today for my guests, you are more than welcome to place them into the comment section. And we are featuring Kathy Jackson. How are you?
Hi, Annette. I am wonderfully blessed and so happy to be a guest on your show. Thank you so much for scheduling and rescheduling me. I'm so glad we're able to pull it together today.
Yes, God bless, God bless. So I'm so excited that for this session on today because you have a lot to talk about. I've already mentioned about how you and I connected when we first met, and how we sat and we talked, and you told me about your ventures. You told me about your goals and what you were trying to do, and I just thought it was just so absolutely wonderful. And so I'm excited to be able to share you and your journey with my listeners. So we're going to jump in today, and I'm going to, you guys, hey, I see you guys coming in. Thank you so much. I see Natalie R. Murphy is on. How are you? Thanks for coming in. And Janice Pritchard has joined us. Thank you all so much. Please make sure when you come in, you click the share button. I always tell you it costs you nothing. Doesn't cost you a penny. Click that share button. Go ahead and throw up the likes, the heart, the care button. And you can also tag individuals directly into this live feed on Facebook. And you that are on Instagram, thank you all for joining us as well. So thank you for coming in, and we're going to jump right into it. I'm telling you, this is something, the subtopic that I had on today that I wanted to focus on. It actually related to last month and this month, right? So we're talking about Black women in the workplace, Black women working at the intersection, all right? What we are up against. I saw an article with that particular title, and I'm like, oh, wow, I love this. I love this. Black women working at the intersection. So do me a favor first, before we hop right into that particular topic. I know I've read your bio. Tell my audience in your own words who you are and just a little bit about your personal background.
Absolutely. So, first and foremost, I am a child of God, and I hope that that shines through in everything that I do. While my work is not necessarily Christian based, I am a Christian doing the work. And
Oh,
so I always want God to get glory from what I do. I have one biological child. He is my grown baby. And he is married to a wonderful wife who happens to have a twin brother. So I not only gained a daughter, but a bonus son as well. And
oh,
I am, Yeah, yeah. I got two for the price of one. I don't have any grandchildren yet, but I am waiting on that call that says, "Hey, you're going to be a grandma." No pressure if you're listening, kids. But that's my hope. I truly believe in living an abundant life. So it's like very hard to put me into a box, right? Like I'm the person that's willing to try most anything at least once. And then I'm very, very good at convincing those around me to join in. So some of the things that I love to do are kind of strange for a black girl who grew up on the south side of Chicago. But I absolutely love the opera. I'm addicted to it. Um, I play pickleball religiously. I love to travel, and I get great joy out of speaking on stages, whereas most people are afraid to speak in front of a large audience. I absolutely love it. So at the end of life, they will honestly be able to put on my obituary that I lived full out.
I love it. I love it. Oh my goodness. Pickleball. Uh Interesting. I've never picked that up.
Oh my God,
uh,
it's addictive.
is it is it relaxing?
Absolutely. It's very addictive. It is so
Okay.
distressing. It is a wonderful way to de-stress. And honestly, my doctor took me off cholesterol medicine, and she said the reason I was able to do that was because of how active I am.
Love it. I love it. I love it.
So
That's good.
so there's a plug.
I see. I see. My goodness. Yeah. Okay. So let's jump right into this. Now, you guys, when you listen to us today, you may see a little bit of delay with our talking with one another, but we're gonna make this interview work because this is so much that I want to be able to share with you guys that she's that she's doing, and pickleball was one of them. I think Natalie said, what'd she say? She started me playing pickleball. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I see you guys are pretty active, even with the Double Dutch, I think, organization. So that's a good thing. And I think as we get older, you know, I know we are busy, but staying active like that is going to be beneficial for us. I mean, you've even said it. You were taken off of cholesterol meds, because of your activity had increased. So that's a wonderful thing. Tiffany, I see that you've joined us. Thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate you. So let's get in here. Black women working at their intersection. What are we up against? Black women in the workplace. As I already stated, you left a job of over 20 years in HR. So you know what it means to work in corporate America. You've had that experience for 20 plus years.
Mhm.
And so I know you have seen some things, okay? I can tell you that. I'm sure you've seen some things. Many of us
Yeah,
women who have been
absolutely.
in the corporate arena have faced so much. We've been up against so much. What does Black women working at the intersection mean to you? Kind of talk to us in Kathy's words. What do you think we're up against?
So I am so glad that this was the conversation because this is exactly what my workshop, Black Women Still the Hidden Figures in Corporate America, is is pertaining to. So,
Okay.
diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI, became a big thing, largely following the murder of George Floyd, right?
Mhm.
And so companies began to implement trainings on bias and unconscious and conscious bias. They started creating employee resource groups, right? And and they are focused on diverse hiring. Well, here is the challenge that I see with DEI as it is growing in corporate today. And just for clarification, I say corporate, but that encompasses non-for-profit, professional services organizations like law firms, higher education. So it's the workplace. Just know that when I say corporate America, it's interchangeable for any workplace.
Okay.
Um, so they have created all of these resource groups and they've created all of these programs. But what they have not done was check in with the people who are most affected by racism, sexism, and microaggressions, which are Black women.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I love that they use the term intersection. So hopefully this picture I'm going to draw, you can see it. So let's imagine an intersection, a four-way intersection where cars are coming from the north, the south, the east, and the west. There's a stoplight in the middle. And so you've got this four corner in the center of each one of these roads intersecting, right? And diversity, equity, and inclusion has grown to include veterans with disabilities. So that's in one lane. You've got
Okay.
a lane for minorities, which in that is inclusive of Black people, right? You've got a third lane that's for women, right? And then there's the fourth lane that's say for um, Black women arguably can fit into each one of those. So with the LGBTQ, they could possibly fit there. With disabled veterans, they could possibly fit there. They absolutely fit in the minority category and
Mm-hmm.
in the women's category. The problem is that Black women are in the middle of that intersection and they don't have a lane of their own. See, the Black woman's experience in corporate America is different from everybody else's. Um, she puts up with uh, disrespect on a regular basis. She ingests discrimination and mistreatment on a regular basis, and she is not allowed to ever tell her story. So, like, I personally, and I'm sure, and I know many have, because I worked in HR. I heard the stories, and I've experienced it personally. Um, but when you are to a point that you've been so disrespected and they've treated you so badly that you want to leave that job and you go to the next one, you're
Mm-hmm.
not allowed to tell your new employer that the reason you left is because they underpaid you, because they stole your ideas and didn't give you credit, because they won't promote you, because they flat out uh, uh, did very blatant disrespectful things. You're not allowed to say that because then you become the problem, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've got this intersection, and these intersections represent these employee resource groups, these affinity groups, and Black women, their voices get dwarfed by these organizations. A Black excellence organization within a corporation is the voice primarily are Black men. In a women's organization, the voice is primarily white women. And typically, culturally, Black women are taught not to air our dirty laundry, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So our voices get dwarfed in these organizations. There is no lane at this intersection that speaks to our story.
Honey, let me tell you something. You had me back at how you distinguished the various, the intersection itself and the different points. You had me back when you said Black women can fit into each of those, but we don't have our own lane. I'm still stuck back there, okay? Because that was simple yet profound. And it is so true. It is so true. We do not have our own lane. Ooh, okay, now do y'all understand why I have her on here and on this particular topic of discussion? Those of you that are watching, this is deep. This is deep. Um, I see you, Janine, and thank you. And I know sometimes you guys may have to come in from lunch or while you're on your lunch, and you may have to hop back off. Janine, I thank you for jumping in, and many of you will have to catch the replay. But those of you that are here, whether you're live or looking at the replay, go ahead and throw in your comments. Go ahead and throw them in. We appreciate if you would, join in on the conversation. I see Beatrice Carter has joined us. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. She says good afternoon. And I think my friend Monique has come in. Thank you. She says very true, very true. Oh, okay, let's jump into this. Oh my God, this is so true. And you know what? We don't have our own lane, which means a lot of times we don't have a voice, or they want to quiet our voice as women. And we know, I just did a Sash Talk discussion on the angry Black woman. I did another one on what is Superwoman schema, Black woman syndrome. It's a lot, because that's what I used to hate. I think I'm going to jump off now. I want to jump off and talk about the angry Black woman if we can. That was horrible for, when I was in my 20s, when I first started into the workforce in corporate America, having to hear that angry Black woman and then having to, cower down or make yourself small so that and not show your expression. I was like literally taught that indirectly. You know what I mean? When I was in my 20s, when I was young, coming along.
Absolutely.
Because it's like, if you say something, or if you say something maybe against policies or what's going on, or just having an opinion, they're automatically going to label you as that angry Black woman. So I see you shaking your head up and down. Talk to us about your experience with that.
So listen, I was working as a manager over HR at an organization, and there was a young lady, a Black woman, who was working as in a temp position, and the goal was to hire her permanent. Well, the supervisor that she was working under, she was a terrible supervisor, and she talked to them. This was a white lady, and she talked to them very nasty. And then at the end of the week, she'd buy them gifts to appease them. Well, this young sister, she told her, like, she doesn't mind being corrected and shown what to do, but there's a certain way that she expects to be spoken to. And
Mm-hmm.
so the supervisor then went around telling everyone in the organization that this young lady had a bit of an attitude. And so it labeled her as a person with an attitude, and she had decided that she wasn't going to bring her on full time. Well, I had an opportunity to get to know this young lady, and I recognized her brilliance immediately. This lady is sharp to this day. Um, and I had an opening on my team, and I decided to bring her on. So I talked to my boss, and my boss said, well, they say she has a bit of an attitude. I was like, I'm okay. I want her on the team. And so my boss was like, well, it's going to be your issue. Fine. Brought her on. She did a phenomenal job. My boss got a chance to meet her and was like, she is phenomenal. And I said, I know. She said, we almost got rid of her. I said, I know. And we not only did she grow, I ended up leaving at some point, and she stayed there, and she grew and grew. And now she is the head of a diversity, equity, inclusion group for a major corporation. And she is still shining. And they were going to get rid of her because one person said she had a bit of an attitude, which we know is code for angry Black woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the I'm grateful that I was in that role, so I was able to help move her career to where it is now, because she would have been gone. Now, she's so sharp, she would have picked up and did well anywhere she goes. So I have no doubt about that. But it was just, I saw how they put that on us unnecessarily simply because she demanded respect.
Mm.
She a millennial. They don't play. So
I
these
know.
things. But right, they don't play, but who doesn't deserve respect? She deserved the respect. This lady was well educated. She spoke well. She was well traveled. She could talk on any level. And, this is a person that you want on your team. You know, she was strategic in her thinking. And boy, she made my team so much. But in fact, she was the glue that brought the team that I was managing together. So, she was just phenomenal. And they were going to get rid of her simply because she spoke up for herself.
And see, that's the thing. And that's what I was mentioning about, when I first began in the workforce, um, as a young person. It's like, you can't, if you say something or if you speak up for yourself, basically, then you're going to get that tag. You're going to get that, that label placed on you. I am grateful that you were in a position to be able to look beyond that and look and see what she brought to the table, because that's going to be very important. Um, don't judge a book by its cover. Uh, but I don't know if we can even use that phrase in this instance, because that wasn't, that wasn't her situation. She would just wanted to be able to, speak her mind, and she shouldn't have to have been judged by that. You know, there's so many things that I can like say today, but I'm going to try and bridle my tongue, because we want to we want to be careful in how we present this. But mm, sometimes privilege
Yeah.
ain't good privilege.
So,
All right,
mhm,
what were you going to
yeah.
say?
And so listen, one of the things that I want to share is that I had another incident in this role where I was able to help another Black woman who was going from a administrative assistant role to a professional recruiter role. Now she was making like 45,000 in the administrative role. The starting salary for a recruiter was 65,000, but her supervisor, who reported to me, wanted to give her 55,000 to do the recruiter role, because she says that's a good bump, isn't it? But that is not the starting salary of a recruiter. And she is going to be doing the same work that the other recruiters are doing. Why wouldn't we pay her that same amount? And so, fortunately, because I was in that role, she got what she was supposed to get for that position. And she too has gone on and done great things in corporate. But I bring this up because I want to share how I ultimately left corporate America, right, and started my own business, because there was so much it was just too much. I ingested too much discrimination, and I
Mm.
just couldn't take it any longer. But on the path to getting to entrepreneurship, I actually stepped down from management because I felt like the higher I went up, the bigger the target was on my back. And there was always somebody in the wing waiting to make my life, to make me an angry Black woman. Step starting individual contributor roles, and I I played it safe, like tried to fly under the radar so that hopefully
Mhm.
they would leave me alone. And I think back on that, and I truly think I'm not a person that lives with regrets, but I do regret stepping back from that, because as I think about those two instances and others where I was able to help people who ordinarily would have gotten steamrolled and wouldn't have had any advocate, right? But I stepped down because really the pressure, it was a lot. It was a lot. The higher you go, the more you feel it. And so I sat there and pretended that I was not as brilliant as I am. That I didn't have the gifts that God gave me. And I watched people do things that I could have helped them do better, faster, with and save money. And I just said, okay, my motto then, I don't accept it now, but my motto then was agree more and care less. Agree with what they're saying and act like I don't care so that I can get paid. Because at the end of the day, I had a family to take care of. And I think that that's the position that a lot of us, a lot of Black women are in. We don't like the treatment, but what do we do about it? Because we're caught in a net where we can't quit because we need the money. And so we go to work dreading it every Sunday. We're in the depression mode because we have to go to a place that we hate and work with people that don't want us there. And, and we have to figure out a way to get through it 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. So anyway, my point in that is that I want to encourage people who are suffering through that, as I did. If there's a way where you can stay in a role where you can advocate for others and you can help move us forward, move forward. Like we've got to move forward. We've got to move beyond that. We can't slide backwards, which that's what it's all designed to do, to make us slide backwards so that we don't shine. But it's not about us. So this is what I didn't understand in those days. It wasn't about me. It's about the generation coming up behind me, And so ultimately, even trying to shrink down didn't work. It didn't work because it didn't work for who God made me. I was being less than. And so that's when I stepped out into entrepreneurship and started my own business. But when I got out there and I saw that I left some sisters behind, I still talk to Black women who work every day. And the minute I tell them about my workshop, that I'm helping Black women who suffer from racism in corporate America, everybody has a story. Well, not everybody. I'll say 80% of the Black women that I talk to, they have a story.
Right. Wow.
And so I want to reach back out and help them.
Well, I commend you for that. And I thank you for those you've helped and those you're going to help. As you were talking, I was thinking about, I want you to answer this or tell me your thoughts on this. If you were not in the position that you were in, you would not have been able to help those move forward. Like even the couple of individuals you had to help, you placed her on your team, even though maybe management or whomever said that she has a problem, whatever. We don't want to have her. We really want to get rid of her. But you stood in, you slid in there, you stood up for her. Everybody doesn't have that advocate, right? And so I believe that, of course, talking to you, reading your bio, this is probably what motivates you now to be able to reach back to help individuals, because everybody doesn't have that advocate. Talk on that a little bit, if you wouldn't mind, for me. You already started talking on it, but maybe go in a little bit more detail as far as that's concerned, because we have people out there that are, I'm sure probably individuals that are watching now that will watch, that are still, dealing with that type of behavior on their job. Do you want to encourage them to stay there or jump out and become an entrepreneur or what have you? Just tell me your thoughts on that particular area.
So that is truly the I think the largest issue in corporate America is that Black women do not have an advocate. They don't have typically, none of this is all typically, we don't have someone in the C-suite mentoring us. We don't have access to the boardroom. We're in the lower paying roles. And if once we are elevated, it's typically you're the only one in the room. And then you're in a position that you have to code switch um, in order to fit in, and you're not your authentic self at work. We don't have an advocate. So I really realized that we don't have an advocate because at work when um, I was going through a challenge and I ended up having to get an attorney um, and file a lawsuit to get what was coming to me. I was wrong. They were trying to wrongfully terminate me. And
Mm,
what I realized was there were no advocates. See, women have advocates. And when we say women, it's typically white women, right? It's not meant for Black women, but they have advocates because women are 50% of the world. So we're in judges' seats. We're in the Senate. We're even in the vice presidency right now. But
okay.
a woman, the women are in places where they are able to pull up other women. But again, that when we say that in terms of employee is benefiting the most is the white woman. Um, there is no reason that men, white men, Black men, and women of other races, they don't have any incentive to advocate for Black women in the workplace. Because what's going to happen when a Black woman is mentally fit, educated, strategic, she is going to rise to the top. I mean, all things being equal, we are doing it now with a really with a foot on our neck, right?
Mhm.
Without any advocates. But it's such a hard climb. It's such a
Yes.
it's such a mental drain, you know. Um, this is why we are having physical illnesses. We're under a lot of stress, high blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes is running rampant, overweight, unable to take care of ourselves because we, contrary to popular belief, strong is overrated. You know, we that is a that is something that they say so that people can keep piling on and piling on. And we have been taught from the time we are little girls, suck it up and deal with it. This is life.
Yeah.
Never let them see you sweat. And we follow this. And so we are in corporate America suffering. And then we don't typically get help for our mental stability because it's a weakness to admit that you can't handle it, you
Yep.
know. And so we handle it as best we can. We pile on and we carry all of this, our family issues, our work issues, our friends, like we carry all of this on our backs and we go to work and we smile. We get our nails done, our hair is fly, we're dressed to the nine, and we look good, but we are dying inside and nobody sees it and nobody cares. And at least that's the way it appears. And so we don't have a voice. We don't have a
Mm,
voice. And so,
mm.
I kind of keep alluding to it, but I kind of really want to share. I have created a workshop from my Deja Hue art because I want to use art for healing and transformation.
Yes.
So my workshop is called Black Women Still the Hidden Figures. And it was taken from the movie Hidden Figures, where Black women were actually very instrumental in John Glenn's first flight in space. Without these human computers, these brilliant Black women, that flight would not have taken place, at least not at that time and in that way. And that was in the 60s. And we didn't hear about this until 50 years later, right? When the book and the movie came out. And so I look at it now, and Black women are still the hidden figures in corporate America. Like, we are the most educated. Well, I won't say we're the most educated, but we're highly educated.
Mhm.
And we are career driven. Things work that shouldn't work. We figure it out because that's how we were taught. And we do it in our homes, our families, our churches, and we do it at corporate America. And statistics shows that companies with a diverse workforce earn 35% more in revenue year over year than a non-diverse company. And so I want to tell my CEOs and the people in the C-suite in corporate America, it is to your advantage, make sure that Black women are mentally well. Our wellness is important. If you really want to, it's one thing to hire, but what they don't take into consideration is that before I came to your company, I was in a company where they mistreated me, you
Mm.
know, and I now no longer trust corporate America to treat me right. And so I'm in survival mode. I am not in, I am not about bringing all of my gifts and talents to your organization just so that you can suck me dry and not pay me what I'm worth and not promote me when it's appropriate. And so I do the bare minimum, but what they don't understand is our bare minimum is still very good.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm doing the bare minimum. But what I want to share with them is that if you focused on women as you're starting to think about diversity, equity, and inclusion, we are the most marginalized. Start with the most marginalized group and get them healthy so that they're happy, healthy, and then they are excited about bringing their full talents to the organization. And they're not only going to bring their full talents to your organization, they're going to recruit more talented people, and
Yes.
you're going to be able to retain them because you have shown them that they're valued and that their opinions are respected. Um, and so that's what we do with the Hidden Figures Workshop. We bring Black women together, and um, we allow them to tell their stories, first of all, because microaggressions, what that is it's those little things, they're so small that they're small offenses, and you're not sure that they meant what they said, right? And
Mhm.
so you sometimes think that you're crazy, and they'll make you think you're crazy. Like,
Yep.
oh, she didn't mean that. Oh, that's not what it meant. And so the first thing we want to do is we want to let you know that number one, you're not crazy. Number two, you're not alone. Number three, this is real. And so we talk about that, and we're able to release that energy and amongst our own people, because we're not going to have an authentic conversation in mixed crowds. You know, when I pitched this
No.
to corporate, one of the first things they say is, well, what about Asian women? And what about Latino women? And I said, this is the problem, that Black women never get the help they need, because as soon as we bring up that it's an issue that will help Black women, so all of a sudden there's a whole world of people that need this same thing. Now, my program is expandable, and it can work in every ERG group, but be it has to be specific so that we can have authentic conversations, right? Um, and then we offer ways to cope, ways to move forward. We we use HR tools, and then we use art to have a time of just healing. What people don't know about art is it's so distressful, because you
Mhm.
literally cannot create and think about your problems at the same time. It's
Ah,
impossible.
I love
um
it.
and so we end our yeah, we end our sessions with a paint party, and so the whole goal of it is to rebuild the confidence that has been shaken because of our experiences, so that we can start showing up powerfully in every arena, whether it's in corporate America or entrepreneurship. And that was a long way. This is a long answer to answer your question. Personally, I think everybody should be an entrepreneur. but but entrepreneurship is hard. Like, it's not easy. I'll be the first to tell you that you've got to have some tough skin to be an entrepreneur, and everybody's not interested in doing that, and everybody's not built for it. And however,
Mhm.
I think everybody can have a side hustle, because
Right.
really quick story, when the pandemic hit, I had my studio in Chicago, and I was working a contract recruiting gig for a friend. She asked me, long story, but she asked me to help out. So I was working a contract role, plus my studio was thriving. And the pandemic hit. And in the week of March 17th, I remember it well because, number one, that's my birthday. And number two, that's the day that everything shut down in Chicago. I had to shut my doors. I went from a very good six-figure income to zero in the same week. The contract ended and the doors of my studio closed.
Wow.
The difference is, when my studio doors closed, I was able to pivot. That's the big word in 2020. I was able to pivot and do virtual paint parties. So I turned my studio into a factory, and I started packing boxes with paints and brushes and canvases and shipping them all over the United States, bringing people together on a Zoom call, and we were painting. And you know what? I literally made more money during that time period than I would have made in my studio. And my point though is that, yeah, people wanted to connect and they couldn't come together physically, but we were able to provide a service where they could de-stress and get that social communications via Zoom,
Mm,
you know.
yeah.
Um, but my point is, if you only have a job, when they let you go, your options are minimal. As an entrepreneur, you can always create another level, another stream of income. And so, no, you just don't have to quit your job and be a entrepreneur, but I think you ought to find a way to have a side hustle so that you can have a an option,
Yeah.
that you are not really dependent on someone else to feed your family.
Yeah. Love it. I love it. Your sister says she's good at pivoting. Where's that comment? Natalie says she's good. Oh, she's good at pivoting. But you know what? I think that you said that was a key word during the pandemic. And I think we all learned that because we really were thrown into the fact of either you pivot and redo or think of something creative, or you're going to sink. So we
Mm-hmm.
had to figure out something. And this is good that you're talking about. Listen, guys, if you're just not joining us on today, we have started off our Women's History Month, What's Her Story series. What's Her Story? And today we were talking with the wonderful Kathy Jackson, author, entrepreneur. She wears a lot of hats, but she is talking to us today, of course, about our position in the workplace as Black women. And we focused on us being at the intersection. And my goodness, if you did not hear her breakdown talking about the intersection and where Black women are, you're going to have to rewind, because she said some very profound things. But this is what we're focusing on today as we're recognizing again Women's History Month. What's her story? So I am so excited that we've started off with her. We only have a few minutes left before we end this segment. So you guys will probably, again, have to rewind to listen to it in its entirety. I see the comments here. Lasagna, thanks for coming in. She said, these microaggressions affect all Black women on all job levels, from clerical to senior level. And that is so true. Brandy had joined us earlier. She says blessings. Let me grab a drink of water. Mm, okay. And then we have, let's see. Oh, Gloria Gooden, thanks for coming in. She says, hey there. And then Shauna, thanks for coming in. We appreciate you. I think Natalie was on her show last evening, if I'm not mistaken. Thanks for coming by. Adria Jones, thanks for coming. She says, love this.
Yes,
And
she was.
right. Love this. And for you, it is the Oh, she said, talk about the platform. God bless you to be a blessing to so many and for the Black women of today. Very true. We need to talk to our sisters, encourage our sisters. Oh, okay, Natalie. I guess she was giving you some points here. Talk about your paint and shift workshop. Yes, she did that. Latoya says here, I love this and agree that Black women need more safe spaces to just speak freely. And Latoya also said, excellent advice. You know, this is good. Minister Gloria says, look at how God works. I am loving this. I'm loving listening to you. And you guys see why I was so captivated when I first met her and listening to her conversation, because she has so much to offer. And she's not afraid. And that's another thing I think, too, that really grabbed my attention about you. You're not afraid or threatened, should I say, to reach back and help somebody else. You saw what you dealt with. You see what others are dealing with. You know, so too often times, and we kind of throw this in here before we end. You know, as far as we're concerned, we're always trying to get to the top, and which is fine. But when we see somebody else trying to get to the top too, we a lot of times we are kicking them back down, or we're stepping on their toes, or you know, we are doing that crab in the bucket spirit, and we don't need that. We need to help one another up. I've seen many posts, and y'all gonna talk about me because yeah, I do have this right here. I've seen many posts that talks about us as women, what we need to do with each other. We need to encourage each other, and then put on that crown, straighten her crown up, right? Straighten her crown, you know, and help her to keep moving forward. You know what I'm saying? It's just something that we need to do. Let's gird up one another. You know what I mean? Whatever God has given you to do, try and help somebody else. Let's not just, okay, I'm going up, and it's just you. We need to encourage and help others. I think Tiffany was on here earlier. That's another, you know, in their branding and her platform, what she has. So I am so grateful for you, Kathy, and what you do and how you give selflessly of yourself to be able to help somebody else. I'm grateful that God put that in you and that you're reaching back and reaching forward to help somebody else. Natalie says there's enough room for everybody at the top. That is so true. And say, yes, we all need the encouragement. We got to have it, because what have we just talked about? We talked about the microaggressions in the workplace. We talked about the sexism in the workplace and all of that. So we know that we're all facing this, quite possibly. You know, I don't know if you're in such a dream job that you're not facing, but somebody else is. So let's try and help somebody else. My goodness, I had so many more questions for you on today, but I'm telling you, you have taken us in a direction that I believe all of us can grab and understand about Black women in the workplace, about us being at that intersection. So in our last few minutes, can you maybe share with us maybe something that you wanted to, you didn't get a chance to, but something that would encourage us further? You've already been encouraging us, but something that would encourage us further. You can take that time now.
Yeah. So when I decided to step out and start an art business when I didn't have any artistic ability whatsoever, um, you know, I really gathered my strength and my inspiration from my son's little league team. like I believe you can grab inspiration from everywhere. So I'll tell
Oh,
you a quick story. So my son um, and his wife and her twin, they were all on this same little league team. They were about 8 years old. It was called the New York Cubans. In this league, they named the teams after the Negro League Baseball, real Negro League Baseball teams. And so they were the New York Cubans. Now, the Cubans had the worst record in the entire league. They literally lost every single game. But what they had was a coach that believed in them. And their coach would pull them together after every loss and say, hey, don't worry about that. We're for the playoffs. See, these games don't really count. This is just practice. In the playoffs, everybody gets a clean slate. Everybody's 0-0. So right now, I want you to just learn the fundamentals. And he worked with them on running, catching, hitting, learn the fundamentals. Fast forward to the playoffs, and they had to play the undefeated Black Yankees. Now, at the end of that game, there was only 3 runs scored. The Black Yankees had one, and the Cubans had two. So the Cubans win, right? But
right.
that wasn't the play. That wasn't the final game. They had to play the playoff. They had to play the championship, and they had to play the team that had won the championship for 2 years in a row. The Browns. The coach pulled them together and said, "Hey, this is what we've been practicing for. Now I want you to put everything we learned into practice. And most importantly, I want you to swing at every ball. Every ball that comes across this plate, I want you to swing because if you swing, you got a chance to connect. It'll go in the field, send everybody scrambling, and you got a chance to round those bases and you have a chance to win." So those kids got up to the plate, and I mean, they swung at everything. Some looked like they were playing tennis, others looked like they were playing golf. But at the end of the day, the Cubans win. And not only did they win, they won by a slaughter rule. And if you don't follow Little League, you don't know what slaughter rule is. That's when one team is beating another so bad that it's impossible for them to win, but they end the game because they want the kids to leave with some dignity. So why is that important and why am I sharing that with you? It's because many of you are like me. In the first part of your life, when you first started in corporate America, you were working for somebody else and you were learning the fundamentals, right? You were learning how to do bookkeeping, learning how to manage projects and people, learning how to problem solve, solving their problems that seemed impossible, but you figured out a way. As you move on to life, and whether you're in moving into entrepreneurship or in those leadership roles now in corporate America, now you're in the playoffs. Now it's time to put all of those fundamentals into place. Now it's time for you to start swinging. And sometimes when you're in those roles, life gets tough, but you got to just keep swinging. You know, you don't might not have enough money, but you keep swinging. You might not know how you're going to make it. Keep swinging. Your marriage not where you want it to be. Keep swinging because as long as you keep swinging, you got a chance to connect. You're still in the game. And I want to tell you is that the Cubans win and you will win too if you just stay in the game, if you just keep swinging. So, all the stuff we talked about today, what I always like to leave people with, if you don't remember anything else that we talked about, I want you to remember the Cubans because the Cubans win and so can you.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I'm so glad that she shared that again. I'm telling you, oh my goodness. Because when I read that on her website, I was like, I think that was probably the one thing that jumped out at me. You know, love the art and all of that. But, ooh, remember the Cubans. I'm going to keep swinging because I'm going to win. Okay, I'm going to win. All right. And you all should take that as well.
Absolutely.
Receive what she has given us on today. I know that God has placed her in the position that she's in. I know He's done it for a reason. So, if you guys come across her wherever, reach out, connect with her. And with that being said, I want you to let them know where can they connect with you, whether it's social media or your website, how can they connect with you, Kathy?
Okay, so you can always go to my website, dejahuart.com. It's right there in the little tag. Um, and I'm on social media at Deja Hugh Art. That's Instagram and Facebook. But I also want to let you guys know that I have a podcast called Cats Out the Bag, where we're talking about discrimination in the workplace. And this podcast is for women of color, specifically Black women. And you get to tell your story anonymously during this podcast. Most of the people that I talk to, they are interested in telling their story, but they are concerned about being blackballed. And so it's an audio podcast, and we don't use names and we don't use organizational names. But Black women get to tell their story. And real quick, I do it for two reasons. One, you get to tell your story, and you get to, so people can know that what we're talking about is real. There are real stories happening here. And the second reason is because I want to build data points, because as I'm sharing this workshop with corporate America, I get the pushback that they don't believe that there's a real need for it, or that it has to be more broad. I want them to know that these are real people who work for them, and they feel a certain way that they just aren't sharing with you. And if they want to keep their workforce intact, because Black women actually are the fastest growing segment of entrepreneurs. They are leaving corporate America in record numbers and starting their own businesses. And those who are staying are quietly quitting. So if they want to keep that 35% increase that diversity affords them, then they need to know that these stories are real and that they exist. So if you want to tell your story on Cats Out the Bag, you can you can reach out to me at dejahuart.com. There's a contact form. Just put in there that you want to tell your story and your contact information, and I will reach out to you, and we can get you set up to tell your story on the Cats Out the Bag podcast. And I want to thank you, Annette, for allowing me this platform to share my story. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you. I am so excited about what you're doing. I am behind you 1,000%, and just praying that God will just continue to bless you as you're blessing others. But that he would grant you the desires of your heart. And I see that he's already doing that. So I'm in your corner. I am in your corner. If you don't know anything, I'm in your corner. And guys, thank you all so much for joining on today. I'm seeing the comments. Lasagna says, well done. Thank you so much. Latoya said, well said, your next business should be motivational speaking or coaching. She actually is a coach. She is a coach and she is a speaker.
And a motivational speaker.
Yes, yes. So you hit that right on the head, Latoya.
But thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, she speaks very well, very well. I mean, and knows what she's talking about. Okay. So again, contact my guest, Kathy Jackson. The quickest way to do it is go to her website at dejahuart.com, DEJAHUEART.com. That's the best way to contact her. And if you go on social media, Instagram, I believe are you on TikTok?
I am, but I don't think I don't even know what my handle is on there. I'm in another generation.
Trust me, I understand. I'm still trying to get to the handle of TikTok myself. But if you go on social media, you can basically look for her, Deja Hugh Art, and she would definitely reach back out to you. So, guys, thank you all so much. There were other names on here. I just appreciate you. If I did not call your name, charge it to my head, not my heart, because if you don't actually make a comment, I can't see your name. But thank you for coming in. I do appreciate all of you for your time on today. And as Kathy is exiting out, I still want to encourage you guys to make sure that you stick with us during the month of March. We are featuring again wonderful women. Take care, Kathy. We're featuring wonderful women who have contributed to history. And our series is entitled again, What's Her Story? So I want you guys to take a look at the promo for next week and continue to follow me for the promotional videos and images that we are displaying for the rest of the month. All right. Again, thanks, Kathy. I appreciate you so much. You take care of yourself, and we will talk soon. And we're going to be following that podcast. Okay.
Okay, thank you. My pleasure. Be blessed.
All right. You too. You too. All right, guys. So I'm going to play the promo for next week. We'll be back next Wednesday, the 13th. And we are going to feature Dr. Proctor. Dr. Proctor. I love when I'm able to network with individuals in the mental health area. And so next week, we're going to talk to Dr. Proctor. She is a author, life coach, philanthropist. And our subject on next week, subtopic, will be mental health, world of healing. So we're going to connect with her and talk to her during this Women's History Month and what this means to us as women. And it's something you don't want to miss. Okay, guys? And then we'll follow up on, we're going to have a special segment on Saturday, the 16th. I'm going to have a millennial panel, young women, and we're going to talk to them about what's her story, what their story is as millennials. And I have a wonderful lineup. I'm so excited. I can't wait. And then also, of course, on the 3rd, I believe that's the 3rd Wednesday, on the 20th, we'll feature Dr. Marquita Parker. Again, this is another connection with mental health. She's a therapist. And she specializes in narrative therapy. So we'll talk to her about that. And then, of course, the last Wednesday of the month will feature, again, health and wellness with Dr. Shirley Hill of Mo Faith Nutritional Services. So again, this entire month, I'm telling you, you do not want to miss this. Do not even think about missing it. And I may have, I'm supposed to have another panel that I'm gathering together for Women's History Month. What's her story? So we'll keep you posted on that. And it's just so much that we can highlight, about women and our history. And so let's highlight them. Let's acknowledge them. Let's encourage one another as we do. And again, I'd like to thank each of you every week for sharing with me here on this platform and also every day on my daily discussions. So thank you all for your input, for your support, and we love you guys, and we'll see you soon. Hey, buddy Gil, I see you. Thanks for joining in. You're going to have to rewind. I appreciate you, though. We had a great segment on today. And so if you rewind, you'll listen to it in its entirety. You guys take care of yourself. Happy Women's History Month.
Get caught in a net.
On the next session of Get Caught in a Net,